Alright, take two. Thank you for welcoming us onto your headphones. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Nikki.
And we're reviewing Phone Booth. And this is the rollback. Have you ever heard of this movie before I showed it to you?
No, actually.
No, I think that's the thing. A lot of people haven't. I think this is one of the most forgotten, thriller, neo-drama movies, ever. Vastly underrated, in my opinion.
Well, to be fair, it was made in 2002.
Yeah, and it it premiered at a festival on the 1 year anniversary of the September 11th attacks. So there was a bit of press on other matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a movie for some reason a lot of people forget. Colin Firth at the time, he wasn't really an established actor.
Oh, you mean Colin Farrell?
Sorry, Colin Farrell. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Colin Farrell wasn't really a hard established actor, and this was one of the three films that kind of put him on a path of oh, this guy can be a leading actor. This guy can carry a movie.
Yeah, I thought he was really good in the movie. But we'll get to that later. But for me, the ending was kind of a little lackluster for me. But that's because I like being able to solve things.
You want a problem that you want a mystery movie that the answer is actually there if you concentrate enough, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that was the way you felt about Knives Out, right? And the Murder on the Orient Express.
But I figured those out. That was the thing.
No, yeah, and you wanted a movie where you can figure it out.
Or yeah, where I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this was surprising still because it was thought it was this guy. And well, we'll get to that later. But so we decided to watch this movie, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a... I remember watching it back when I used to live with my parents when I was a lot younger. I was watching Cinemax or whatever, and this movie popped up. And for some reason, it just intrigued me. I watched it, and I always remembered it, how stressful it was, how insane it would be to be at the end. It's a hostage situation, basically. You're on the phone. You don't know where the hostage taker is. He's on the other. He's hidden somewhere with a gun aimed at your head. And you can't run. There's no feasible way for you to get out. You have to just deal with the situation.
Yeah, he's locked in a phone booth, basically. And the person on the call says that he can't move or he'll get shot.
Yeah. But also, the guy, he's mentally, he's not... I won't say mentally unstable, but he's mentally unstable.
Mm-hmm.
How many normal people you know that are going to hold a stranger at gunpoint? Then again...
The caller, right?
Yeah, the caller.
Okay.
But then again, there were a few. He alludes to it at the very beginning. He says, remember this guy, remember this guy? Both shot and killed. People thought they were muggings, but no, their wallets were still there. Their phones were still there. Those weren't muggings. Those were executions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, apparently the caller brought to light, two situations. And it was of, what would you call them? Scumbags, and that he
Degenerates.
caught also, yeah, and that ended up shot, but it wasn't a big news story. So again, this is his supposedly third victim, right?
Yeah, but he even says at one point, Stu, you're making it a lot longer than either one of those two guys did.
Mm-hmm.
It might have just been the fact that those other guys thought, oh, this is too big for me or whatever. I'm too big for this. You're not going to take me down, and he shot him.
Mm-hmm.
But Stu, at the very least, knows to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked himself out of a lot of situations in dealing with people.
Well, okay, if you're gonna watch this movie, make sure you're not having anxiety at the time. I know I'm that type of person where it's okay, if I'm anxious or whatever, I want to watch a movie to relax. Yeah. If you're feeling a little agitated or anxious, don't watch this movie. It was all stress all the time.
The whole damn
The
episode.
whole movie, you were why?
And it's not exactly a long movie. It's only about an hour and a half. I think actually a little less than that. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. It's barely a movie. But you're stressed out the whole time that Colin Firth is in there. Sorry, Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell.
The whole time he's in the phone booth, you're stressed right the hell out.
But honestly, I'm glad it was that short because it was very stressful. So if it was another 30 minutes, I don't think I could take it.
Well, also the dialogue, props to these guys. I don't know if they ad-libbed a lot of the dialogue, but it was good. And there are several times they take you down random paths. You know, the caller messes with Stu and saying, you know, Stu, don't help me out, Stu. Don't talk me out just like my mom. And he's messing with him. Like, no, actually, I had a really great childhood. I love my parents. Mm-hmm. You know, I like that. I like that kind of sociopath. I don't know. It's appealing to me.
Well, it's interesting, but you never really know anything about the caller.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes it so damn terrifying. Because it really is realistic. Like, he was a legit stranger. This is Hitchcock-esque, I think, in execution. Because, yeah, you never find out who the hell it is.
Well, kind of do.
Well, no, but like, oh, what's his name? Like, you know, like, he is a stranger.
Okay, well,
in that
just
facet.
to ruin the whole movie, yeah.
He is a stranger. No, okay, look, man, I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie. Or, sorry, 19-year-old movie. Spoiler alert.
Almost 20.
Almost.
But what is it? It's basically like, well, why didn't he leave the phone booth, right?
Yeah.
So the whole thing was, well, I would have made a run for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think he had shot
a little toy robot
at first. Mm-hmm. And then there was some escorts that were trying to get into the phone booth.
That's
right?
a very generous word to use, Nikki.
Well, he had called them hookers.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, we're escorts. And they were cussing him out and all that. And then they called the pimp over. And then the pimp starts getting involved and trying to get in the phone booth. And he's just like trying to stay in the phone booth. And they're giving him a lot of agitation.
Yeah.
And then the caller ends up shooting the pimp, right?
Yeah, well, because he says, like, because the pimp starts pulling on Stu, and Stu has the phone on him. And the caller says, if he pulls you out, this counts as a hang-up. And, you know, he made the rule earlier, if you hang up, you die.
Well, he gave him the option, right, to say yes.
Yeah.
To be able to shoot him.
Do you want me to take him out, Stu? He's like, yes, and he shoots the pimp.
Yeah, but he didn't mean to say yes to shoot the pimp. He meant to say yes that he's listening, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I mean, it's a bit of a gray area, but like that sets off the whole thing. And one of the scenes I like just a little bit before that is Stu is saying, like, you know, you shoot me, you know, everyone's gonna be freaking out. You know, there's no way you're gonna do that or whatever. And there's a little toy robot there. The caller shoots it. And babies, everyone's going. Exactly. You're in New York.
Nobody pays attention. It was just like, oh, the toy broke, whatever.
Everyone's up to it. Well, the salesman. You know, Stu gave him like $20 for the robot. The guy was like, you know, hey, what the hell, man? You broke my thing. Mm-hmm. And the caller alludes like, oh, Stu, you gave that nice man money so that I wouldn't have to kill him. Mm-hmm. You're such a nice guy.
Well, the pimp, too, he gave him money.
To try and get him to leave him alone.
But he wanted more.
Yeah.
So the pimp ended up getting shot. But even the escorts couldn't see that there was a bullet wound or anything. Yeah. He was just like going back and that dramatic, like, what's going on? Are you okay? And they were like checking on him.
And then he realizes.
And then they realize he's bleeding, and then he got shot. And then they keep saying like, oh, you shot him. So they're blaming Stu for shooting him, even though there was no gun around or anything.
Exactly. And then the situation, it just keeps getting worse. After the pimp gets shot, you end up getting the cops being called and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
now
Forrest Whitaker shows up.
Yeah.
And I really liked him. He was a very on-the-nose captain. He was very good.
Well, I always like him in movies. Like, he always appeals to the movie. I think makes things a little...
Better?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a much-needed credibility to the film. But also, I think he brings... His character's very minor, but you know a lot about him from the get-go. He tries to use his personal life to try and relate to Stu, you know. Hey, you know, I'm divorced or whatever. You know, he's trying to relate. He's trying to be a good cop.
I thought it was a little basic, to be honest, because it's kind of like, well, heard it before. Mm-hmm. You're believing these women for saying that he shot somebody, but it's like, you know, I guess you take the word of mouth, right? But at the same time, it's like he wasn't thinking that there was a different situation. It was more like, no, it's Stu.
Yeah.
And that's what bugged me, too. Everybody was like, it's Stu, that he killed him. And he was, you know.
Yeah.
I guess he wasn't cooperating, but at the same time, it was like, it's a clear phone booth.
I mean, it's and I think Stu, as little interaction as Stu and Ed actually have, or I guess the Forrest Whitaker and the main character, as little interactions they have directly with each other, they work well off. The few scenes where they do. Stu trying to communicate to him like, hey, this is not a shooter situation. Like, I'm not a dangerous gunman. This is a hostage situation, and it completely changes the dynamic of the film once they find out.
Yeah, but let's get back to the caller, because that's the whole thing, right? It's not so important that the police are there. It's just that the caller wants Stu to own up to his truth.
Yeah, which is kind of minor compared to the other guys, but fucking fair enough.
Yeah,
because to this guy's head.
Well, that was a thing that was lackluster for me too. Okay, I'm just spoiler alert. He cheated, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
like, or not even cheated. He was attempting to cheat. Like he
wanted to cheat. He wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's like the other two guys that he shot and killed. One was like some kind of sleazebag human trafficker. The other one was a stockbroker that like let thousands of people like lose their retirements. And Stu just kind of wanted to cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
He didn't even follow through with it, which is I guess that's because they had to make Stu redeemable. Otherwise, he would have just been cheering for the caller the whole time.
Yeah, sort of, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was kind of like I was hoping Stu had actually done something
to warrant this.
To
Wow, you victim blaming, Niki?
Well, I was like, that's gonna make it so interesting. What if Stu's actually like, because you do feel sorry for him throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, he's just taking a phone call. And then, so I was like, plot twist would have been if Stu was actually like a real bad guy, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Like at the very end, you find out like he's also
a mass murderer or something.
Or yeah, they find like all the bodies in the house, and you find out the wife was hiding it the whole time with him or something bad. But no, Stu's just. He's not necessarily a good guy, but he's not that bad of a guy. He's Wreck-It Ralph, man. He's not a piece of shit. He's just not a great human being.
I think you have to explain the reference.
Yeah. Well, also, like, there's also a point where he has a full-on breakdown with the caller, and he says, like, I've never done anything good for anyone that couldn't do something for me. There's an intern out there, and Robbie, if you're watching this, don't be a publicist. You're too good. And he admits everything. He admits his faults. This $2,000 fake watch is just like me. It's fake. And just like this or whatever. And he has a full-on breakdown. And I love that part. Like that whole one little monologue thing. And he even tells the caller, you're not going to let me go, are you? Yeah, but you knew that. So why'd you do it? He's like, I didn't do it for you. He's looking at his wife, And it's really, he cares about her at the very least.
Oh, that was another frustrating thing. The wife got involved, right?
Yeah.
And then, so the wife is Kelly Shepard. And she came into the picture and she was like, I don't know why my husband did this. And they kept telling her to get in the car, right?
And she kept getting out of the fucking car.
And she kept getting out of the car. And then the sniper had her as leverage. It was like, stop getting out for the camera, Kelly. Like, stay in there. Nobody wants to see you.
Yeah.
And then Katie Holmes is the one that he was going to cheat on with, right?
Yeah.
And she's on the other side.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's a point where it's like he asks him to pick, right?
Yeah.
And how does that work out?
Isn't that the very end where he's like, shoot, man, and Stu finally so the caller plants a gun in the phone booth, and the whole time Stu's arguing like they're never gonna believe that I actually shot him, and the caller's telling him, and you're gonna die, and later on they'll realize, oh gee, you didn't shoot the guy. So what? You're still dead, and that gives you more than enough time to get away.
Yeah, well, Stu was dumb too because there was a gun up there and he was reaching for it,
Yeah.
and then he's like touching it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I can't find a gun," but he did find it. But I guess he was trying to for the caller, right?
Yeah.
Trying to direct the situation, but at the same time, it's like you put your fingerprints on the.
Well, this whole thing kind of feels like a really stressful negotiation, which I like. I like negotiation games. I like Monopoly, so it felt like a really stressful. I mean, bear in mind, one of the people in the negotiation literally has a gun to his head, but like, it felt cool. I liked how stressful it was. I liked the environment. I liked the realisticness of it. Because again, I like movies with small stakes, small scale. Like, the world's not going to end if Stu dies. He's just another guy on the news. It's fucked up, but it's true.
But you got a serial killer on the loose.
Wait, in New York.
In New York. So
Post 2001.
And it could go anywhere.
Any sniper.
So anybody.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's what they were trying to say too. It's like
it can happen to
the
anyone.
sniper can happen to anyone. So it's like own your truth. That's the whole thing.
Well, yeah, he does make it a point of like, he tries to hold bad people responsible for their actions. You know, it's his way of finding justice. And Stu even tries to turn it on him. And he says, like, Stu, how would you turn this? And Stu has a really smart spin. He says, in a city where no one gives a shit, no one helps each other, you took a stand. You protected me from the pimp. We can spin this. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you and I both know, like, that good try, but you're not getting out of this. And Stu's like, yeah, I know. I had to try, though. And then at one point, he tries to make him pick between Kelly, the woman he was going to cheat on. I'm sorry, Kelly, Stu's wife, and Katie Holmes?
Katie Holmes?
Katie Holmes, yeah. Between Pam
Pamela.
and Kelly.
Yeah.
Who do you want me to kill, Stu? Who? Pick one. He's like, no, Kelly's innocent. Again, Stu is not a good guy, but he's not a bad guy.
And, okay.
He's a complex
we
guy.
said the Wreck-It Ralph, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's bad guy, but not bad guy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, and I like Stu's morally complex character because there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. He's not
really complex. Like, okay, I'm sorry, but nowadays, like, cheating's very common.
But how many? I can't think of too many people that would go out of their way, like at that point, to be like, I'll sacrifice myself for this person. A lot of people say they would. I truly believe there's not that many.
I don't think so.
I think you're giving people too much credit. I think there are a lot more selfish individuals out there.
I think when it comes to somebody you love, then that's where he realized that he really loved Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Because he chose Kelly over Pam. And because he was like, don't kill her. And, well, again, she got out of the car, like, for the third or fourth time. And then the sniper guy is getting agitated and has her there. And so Stu comes out with a gun, right, of the phone booth.
Well, I mean, if anything, because at one point he tells him, choose between Kelly and Pam. And yeah, I just believe people are more selfish than that. I think most people are. That's why I say Stu isn't terrible of a guy.
But you're just saying that most people are selfish, right?
I think so.
But to me, I don't think so. I think if it's somebody you love or respect, like with Pam.
Yeah.
Like, he did not love her. He was just, like, infatuated with her.
Yeah.
And he was willing to save her.
Yeah.
Like, sacrifice his life for her. Kind of.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, though. I think that's what makes him a little more admirable than the average Joe.
But I think anybody would. Okay, not anybody.
Yeah.
But, like, I think there are some people that would.
There are some people. It's just, I think...
I think you give them too much credit.
No, I think you're giving humanity too much credit.
Well, okay. I say, like, there's a handful of people.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
No, there's a handful.
Yeah, I believe you would.
But I wouldn't go
I know,
that way.
I'm trying to be cute.
I love you.
But just know this moment, then you're saying that you're not a good person?
No, I'm an incredible human being. But I'm sure there's some certain individuals in my life that aren't so much.
Yeah, so this is a husband and wife show right now? so I guess, okay, you believe in Stu, right? And I believe in
the
handful. not the collar. I believe in a handful of people, right? Yeah. And you're one of them. So I'm giving you credit.
I love you too.
Is that fair? Okay.
Yeah, I believe in you too.
Okay. That's why it's kind of like, not everybody, just like...
Not everyone, but there's a few. Okay, well, anyway.
Okay, yes. Let's get back to the caller.
Okay, so the caller. Do you think what he's doing is just... I'm not saying going against Stanford, but
no. Okay.
This is very...
That was a stupid question.
Okay, I'm just saying, what's the difference between him and, like, the Avengers? Like, he's taking out bad guys.
But
the first two are bad guys.
Guy.
Huh?
But it's his determination of what truly is a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically the caller's idea of a bad guy is anybody that is flawed, right? Technically.
So I guess people that lie or that don't own up to it.
But then you see the variation of lies, right?
Yeah.
So we saw between the three people.
Yeah.
The two he killed before and Stu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see that he's getting closer to like, oh, what if lie about my weight? Then it's going to be like, okay.
Sniper rifle.
Sniper rifle. Tell everybody.
Own yourself. Own your truth. I mean, I think if you take the first two killings and make them a movie, I think the sniper is the protagonist. I think most people would portray him as that. He's holding, these big people, hostage. Like, oh, I'm going to hold you responsible for the bad things you did.
I don't think you mean a protagonist.
Not well,
anti-hero?
Yeah, probably he'd be the Punisher. I think in some capacity.
Okay.
But you throw Stu into the mix, and all of a sudden, this guy's a psychopath. Because I think it's a lot more understandable. Not a lot of people are in a position to affect 1,000 people's lives in a negative manner.
But he doesn't. He's not big time. Like
Stu's not big enough for him to matter.
Like nobody knows about the collar still. They think he's dead.
No, they thought the other two were muggings. Oh yeah, that's right. They thought he was dead. They thought it was the pizza guy from the beginning.
Yeah, so there's a pizza guy that Stu's kind of rude with in the beginning, the very beginning.
He's an asshole.
And then even the caller mentions about how you're rude to the pizza guy, and that's who I thought it was.
Well, remember he even mentions like the pizza caller says there's no need for that language, and the caller says, "Now Stu, there's no need for that kind of language."
Yeah, so it was like it's the pizza guy. Well, that's what I said first, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end, the pizza guy, you find him dead because eventually the police finally trace the call and you're like, okay. And they get to the pizza guy who's dead near like a rifle and bullets and stuff, right? But as soon as I saw him dead, I'm like, it's not the pizza guy.
Yeah.
We both thought it.
I'm so glad it was a stranger. I know you don't like that, but I love the fact that it could be, it is anybody.
Well, I'm like, why did I waste my time watching this movie? It's like, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, there's no, like, who is it? That's it. It's kind of like...
Well, the situation, I think there's a lot of conversation to be had. I mean, look at this podcast. Like, we've been talking for 20 minutes. Was he right? Was he wrong? Like, is Stu a bad guy? Like, I think it's a great conversation film to watch.
But for me, it's like, I want, not an ending, but I guess just to know. Or allude to it. Because I love when you see the bad guy early on, and then you're like,
it was him all along.
It was the pizza guy. Like, that could have been a thing. Or, I'm going to quote a book. Is that okay?
Yeah.
To do that here? Okay. Well, there's a book by Harlan Coben. I'm not going to say which one. But you're basically reading it, and the whole time, it's the husband looking for the wife. She's missing. And then the whole book, and you're going through the chapters, and you're like, is he going to find her? Why did she leave? Who is she with? And all that, right? Mm-hmm. And then it ends up she's dead the whole time. So it's like, I wasted my time reading this book just to find that she was dead the whole time. It's kind of like that. Like, I guess, wasted my time watching this movie just to find out that this guy is just some random guy.
He's just some asshole.
That's it.
Okay, here's a better question. Would you recommend this to someone?
Yeah, I guess if you're sitting at home, right, like, and you're bored and you need something to watch, I'd be like, yeah, you should try this the phone booth movie, and let me know what you think.
God, nowadays, fucking Gen Zers, they're like, what's a phone booth? What are those? Why do they have screen? Just shit talking at this point.
Yeah, because I'm like, they kind of know. But at the same time, you're right. Maybe your cheater friends mention this movie to them.
And some people are going to have some fucking issues with this movie.
Okay, well, I guess we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, so I was actually going to say, real quick, one last thing I think you might care about. What's your favorite Batman movie again?
No comment.
No, seriously. Like, no, I'm not shit talking. I'm being serious.
Okay, but okay. Why?
Trust me.
I feel like you're shit talking.
I'm not. I'm Blue Car. For those who don't know, Blue Car is our secret. Is a thing.
It's like a promise, but more.
Yeah. So okay, Blue Car. What's your favorite Batman movie? I'm not.
I like the one with George Clooney.
I think that's is that Batman Returns or Batman and no? Is that Batman Forever or Batman and Robin? I think it's Batman and Robin. So the same director that directed Batman and Robin directed this one, Joel Schumacher.
Wow.
Like, right? The guy's got range. I'm not saying Batman and Robin is great, but like.
Well, I enjoyed it. It's one of those movies again that you just sit back and watch. Like, okay, there's a lot of not horrible movies, I would say, but like not particularly liked movies that I like.
Yeah.
Like even that.
Yeah.
What's considered the crappy Yoshi and Mario movie?
The Mario Brothers?
Mario Brothers? Yeah, I like that one too.
You're just destroying your credibility, sweetheart. Why are you doing this?
But sometimes I just like nostalgia, okay?
No,
and
that's
then also
fair.
I like George. I like George Clooney.
That's fair. Actually, there's movies I like that are shitty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the dude's got range, right? The director's like, what? He did the Batman movie and he did this?
Well, that's what I like about directors, right?
Yeah.
That it's very different.
They
like
have range.
you're not following with the same thing. Like Michael Bay, just throwing that out there.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure
kind of the
defend
same concept. Like, oh, let's just make this trippy and useless and extra hard just for no reason. Like, or let's make explosives and
for the shits and the giggles.
For the shits and giggles, it's like no sense.
Yeah. So okay, how would you rate this movie? 1 to 10, A to B, 5 stars, however you want.
I give it a 3.
A 3 out of 5 stars?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Yeah, I'd say a C, solid C. I think it has more rewatchability though than most movies. Like I can imagine myself jumping in like the midway point and still be like really entertained.
Yeah, for me, 20 years from now, when I forget the ending, then I'll rewatch it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, this is going to wrap it up for this episode of The Rollback. If you're listening to us via podcast, please like and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Also, please tell your friends about us. That's how I find out about most of my favorite podcasts.
Also, make sure you comment. We want to see our fans.
Yeah. If you're listening to us on YouTube, also, please like and subscribe. We're hoping maybe relatively soon, that's a very loose phrase, maybe we'll start doing videos, like actual videos, instead of just podcasts. And if you want to hear more about thoughts on movies, go to therollback.net. I've been Eddie.
I'm Nikki.
And this was The Rollback.
Thank you.